Hey there, everyone, and thank you for listening to Back Talk by Successful Black Parenting Magazine, the podcast talk show for parents. I'm Janice Robinson Celeste, your host and publisher of Successful Black Parenting Magazine. Now, I want you to tell all of your friends and followers about the show. So go to our Facebook page for Successful Black Parenting and share the link with your followers right now and let people know that you're joining us. Even better, you can click the options and start a watch party. In addition, you can comment on Facebook and I will post the best comments live on air. And know that it can take a while for your questions to populate in the backstage area. So ask your questions early and don't wait. Our hashtag for the show is hashtag BACKTALK. Now, my special guest today is children's author Christine Michelle Carter. Welcome, Christine.
Thank you so much for having me, Janice.
I'm so glad you're here. Now, October is also National Work and Family Month, and we're having kind of Mom's Weekend. On our last podcast, we talked about moms and self-care, and today we are talking about millennial moms with Christine. So, Christine, tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I am a writer and global marketing strategist. I write for different publications like Forbes, Time, Harper's Bazaar, Health, Women's Health. And I also am the author of a children's book, Can Mommy Go to Work, which is about a mom who's trying to get ready for her big day and her children are doing everything they can to stop it. But the children are actually trying to contribute to the day because it's the mother's first day as a boss in the office. And then I have a second book that's coming out November 1st, and that's called Mom AF is what it's actually called. And that's just a novel. And that's a novel. Both will be available on Amazon, and Mom AF will be available in stores as well. And then the global marketing strategy that I do is advising brands on how to reach working moms, millennial moms, and Black consumers. And that involves me speaking at events about that. It involves working with different advertising agencies and different brands as well. So I'm pretty busy. And then I have two children, an 8-year-old girl named Maya and a 4-year-old boy named West. Hi, Shirley from Philadelphia.
Yeah, hi, Shirley. Well, great. That's great. So you are a millennial mom, is that right?
That's right.
Okay, great. So we're going to be talking about that today. So, just so for our audience to know, millennials are between 22 to 37 years old, and marketers have been like just jumping over barrels trying to figure out how to market to them because they're not the same as the other generations. They don't, they have different value sets, which are great actually, and they think differently. They've been raised differently. Technology definitely infiltrated this whole generation. So there are approximately 1 in 5 moms that are millennial moms, which is about 9 million people. So, tell us a little bit. So I'm not millennial. I'm not even baby. I'm in between. I forgot what I'm Generation X. Okay, that's when I am. So I try to forget what I am. I feel old. But I actually relate more with the millennials mindset because I think it's very righteous. But how is being a millennial mom different from any other generation besides what I just talked about? What do you see as different?
So it's funny because it seems like every other generation has ties to one another except for us and baby boomers. We're more like the silent generation where we are coming out of a recession. We're coming out of troubling times for the economy. And yet at the same time, we're still optimists. We're still innovators. We're living in an advanced age of basically like industrial growth, but it's technological industrial growth for millennials. So we're a lot like our grandparents, our older grandparents, whereas your generation, Generation X, is a lot like Generation Z, very practical and pragmatic and realistic. But the thing about millennial moms is we still want the best for our children. We still hope for a positive future for our children, despite of all of the social challenges or economic economic challenges that many of us experience from coming from a recession, or a lot of the racial tension in the country, we still remain optimistic. We're raising our children to be the same way. So it's not a surprise that Generation Alpha and Millennials are very similar. Yes, my children already have a generation born after 2010 is called Generation Alpha. So we believe that we can still personally change the world, and our children feel the same way.
Wow. Yeah. That, and you know what? It only takes like one person to make such a difference in the world. It really does.
Yeah.
I mean, you can look at people like even the Apple founder, Steve Jobs, or Greta Thunberg, who's doing it now. And all she did was basically skip school and sit in front of the I guess it was the United Nations building or the government building, whatever it was in her country. And it garnered people to ask questions. And now look at, she's nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. So it does take just one person to make a difference in this world and to get people to listen. And it's hard. It's hard to get people to listen now. It's so much static basically in the world, like so much going on in the internet. If you're doing something really good, it's hard to get people's attention. So I say kudos to those people that do that. But I saw some statistics. I'm just going to read them out unless we could talk about any of these, especially if you relate to them, because as a millennial mom, but you all hear all this talk about screen time with kids, right? And then you're not supposed to give them more than 30 minutes if they're under 2 years old, blah, 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 blah. I kind of don't always agree with that, and I'll tell you why. But it says millennial moms aren't worried about it. They're really technically savvy. They use tech to keep their family together. And I'll tell you why I'm not worried about it either too much, because, as long as you don't use it as a babysitter for long periods of time, and if you're involved with your kid with that tech, I don't have a problem with it because I think they're smarter. They end up smarter than the average kid that doesn't have that tech. That's right. It also says that, right, we'll come back to that, but they prefer amenities that are associated with urban areas like big cities instead of suburbs, where our older generations, they fled to the suburbs to get the nice big house and suburban spread and all that. So they prefer to be in the city, according to statistics, so they can have access to art areas and restaurants, etc. Not just working for the money. They tend to be happy in their job. That's more important than the money. I can relate to that. More health obsessed, where Whole Foods is launching a whole separate line of stores just to appeal to millennials. That's right. It's amazing. Millennial women are also the slowest to have kids of any generation in U.S. history. They're more educated. They have college degrees, which probably means they have more debt too for student loans, unfortunately.
That's right.
They also expect dad to help, which they should anyway. Right. Hello, dads. We love you. Unique kid names are more accepted and more imaginative, so they want to be unique, So that's great because, Black people for many years have been naming their kids
after the grandparent.
Right. Not only after grandparents, but we have unique names. We want to be different. And now all of a sudden it's acceptable to have names like, and I'm not picking you, Gwyneth, but Apple, which is fine, West. Yeah, all these names. And I'm saying, go for it. Why can't you be unique? I wrote a whole book about babies' names, empowering the child throughout their life. And then millennial women tend to have, I don't know if I say have babies later, but that they have them later, and they will align themselves with a mom group opposed to like a millennial.
That's
group.
Right.
They want to be with other moms. And they are also very confident that they are good moms. 57% say they are doing a very good job at parenting. So all of these are positive.
Yeah, I want to unpack so much of that. I can speak to so much of that.
Go for it. Go ahead. Which one resonates with you?
Oh my gosh. So let's talk about how millennial moms, millennial women are becoming mothers later. And the reason for that isn't necessarily being selfish and not wanting to have children, but the fact that there are more women in the workforce than ever before. And yes, we are more educated than previous generations. So we recognize that there's a little bit of being practical within us. And we recognize that there's still such a thing as the housework gap and the motherhood penalty. And I'm sure you know those things very well. They still exist. So we're very aware of the fact that, for example, when I returned to work, and I worked in a car industry, and I was surrounded by guys, and I experienced the motherhood penalty tenfold, where everybody thought I wasn't as productive or I wasn't as dedicated to my job just because I was a mom. So I think that other women within my generation completely understand that motherhood penalty. And then the wage gap itself is already so strong, but it's driven by the fact that there's a housework gap. So yes, men are helping us out more. We do love the dads who do that, but the responsibilities that they have around the house can be picked up pretty much at any time versus moms who have responsibilities that are on demand, taking care of a child immediately, breastfeeding immediately. All of these things are exacerbating the divide between men and women from a wage perspective. And it's really driven by that household gap.
Mm-hmm. Wow. You're absolutely right. Like everything we need to do usually is on demand and quick, and you got to do it fast.
Instantly. Yeah. And I've already spoken to the fact that I agree with the creative names. My children are Maya and West. My son was named, I was on my honeymoon in Paris, and I got his name even before I had my daughter's name. And it was honestly, I'd love to say it was something creative, but I was watching Pimp My Ride in Paris because all the shows are years behind, and the person getting their ride pimp was named West. And I was like, that's the coolest name I've ever heard.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, now we have North and
right, exactly. So now West is not that big a deal. Exactly.
No, it really isn't. They normalize that for sure. But I think it's great to have a unique name for your child, like I said. And then if you have some story behind it that's very empowering and powerful, even better yet, because you can remind them of who they are as they grow and say, hey, this is who you are. This is why I named you what I named you, because I knew you would be great, or whatever. Make up a story. Tell them whatever
my daughter is named after Maya Angelou, so that works.
Oh, there
she
you
has
go.
a nice story. But West.
There you go.
Yeah, no.
We'll figure something out for him.
We will.
But but the thing is that, and then to live in the city where there's a lot going on, so that revitalizes the cities. And I think that, that's a good thing. So millennials are good for places that need to be revitalized, and cities like, we have Detroit that's falling down in places. And
my hometown, Baltimore.
So, and we have a lot of groups that are coming up now that are empowering types of groups that are coming together as friends to make a collective to save their money, to buy buildings, to rehab them. And so that way the neighborhoods don't get gentrified. They stay in the Black community, which I think is so powerful. If you have a group like that, I need to know about it because I want to be part of that.
It's very popular in Baltimore. I actually wrote a piece about a woman named Kendra Barnes who does that here in Baltimore and DC. And there's another couple in Baltimore, a husband and wife, Black, that do that too. So that principle is very popular here. I actually live in the suburbs because I am recently divorced. So I took over my mother's old house while she lives in another house in Annapolis, which is our state capital. And I hate it. I would much rather be in the city, in an apartment. I already have bad allergies and asthma. My children do too. They are extremely cultured. We go to New York and they want to stay in hotels with room service. And my son, who's 4, said he wants somebody to walk on his back so that he can get a massage. So they are more than cultured, and they love city life. So when we moved to the suburbs, it was like Green Acres. It was a shock for all of us to be out here, but we've truly made it our home and try to get to the city as much as we can.
Right. Well, speaking of names, we have a comment that Camille's middle name is Eris, meaning greatest in Greek. And he hated it as a child, which sometimes they do because they'll get teased, but he loves it as an adult. And I think that's really important to remember too, so that as you empower them as they grow, when they do grow, they understand and they'll accept it, and and hopefully they'll do well in life. So the other thing is that we're having millennials are having kids later in life. They see it's not always easy to have a baby and do things you want to do when you're young, so they wait and they travel and do everything they want to do, finish their education, which is actually really, really smart. Really smart. The only thing I can say about that is that I had my kids young in my 20s, and I know older, I wouldn't have had any energy to
Right,
do it. But I
exactly.
guess you
Me
find the
too.
energy where you need to find it,
Right.
so yeah.
No, me too,
Yeah.
completely. I had my daughter at 23, and I have friends who are just starting to have their first child now, and I'm 33. I'm sorry, I had my daughter at 25.
Okay.
And then I had my son at 29. And I like the fact that I'm kind of like the den mother for them. And I really admire the fact that these mothers now, I can relate to Generation X a lot. I really can. But I admire the fact that these mothers now do see value in having a tribe, and having a community of moms that they
Right.
really look to have honest conversations with. I love the fact that on social media, things like honest parenting and honest motherhood are hashtags that are very popular when it comes to being a mother for millennials. Because I had children younger than even other people in my cohort. I didn't have that, so I experienced a lot of anxiety. I had to stumble and fumble because I didn't want to tell my mother how I was struggling with motherhood, or my aunt how I was struggling with motherhood. I wanted to show that I was team do it all, and I just truly hope that with my work and my writing, I always try to be honest with my experience so that other mothers don't have to go through that, and they can discuss some of the things that I went through with their tribe and not feel like they have to do it all alone. So I just think it's a beautiful thing that there's a lot of community that millennials have online, and they've found another way to make a community in motherhood and also take that offline.
Well, you just talked about the statistic of aligning yourself with the mother groups instead of millennials type of groups for millennial moms. So basically, let me just restate it to make sure it's clear. So millennial moms will align themselves with a group for moms before they align themselves with a group for millennials, which I think is interesting
Right.
too. So you're building your tribe, which is something that's more, I would say, new, because back in the day when we're all more so like in the same neighborhood, your tribe was your family and your friends that were around. But we don't even speak to our neighbors hardly anymore. I mean, how many people know their neighbors? And neighbors move so fast too. Sometimes these days, you don't get a chance to really get to know your neighbor. And some neighbors you don't want to get to know.
Right.
So, there's all that.
Right.
So yeah, but Camille says social media and the like seems to have connected millennials to adult issues sooner than we Gen X. We were,
Of course. And our
we're
children.
aware of those issues. I think so. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And our children
And our
more
children.
so than us. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a
So
statistic that millennials their children outpace them in technical knowledge at 8 years old. So my daughter already knows how to use that iPad and all of that kind of stuff and smart technology more than me. And she's exposed to so much now with YouTube Kids even, and YouTube, and the fact that a lot of her work requires her to be online. She's exposed to a lot more adult issues. And then you also think about the fact that, well, the media has changed quite a bit. So we're no longer afraid to tell very honest stories, be it for good or for bad, about the people within our world. Diversity of thought, sometimes diversity in just your appearance, all of those things aren't things that we experienced, us millennials experienced as kids. Our kids are exposed to that now. And in some ways they can be jaded by that. In some ways it can be scary. It can be scary as a parent to have your kid come up to you and ask you, well, what's drug addiction? What's alcoholism? What is being transgender? It's not that necessarily there's anything wrong with, or what is depression, what is suicide? All of these things are things that the kids now are exposed to in the media, that and through arts and entertainment that we didn't have. And sometimes it can be scary and uncomfortable as a parent to have those conversations so early.
Right. I agree with you. There's so much out there that's negative as well as positive. And we have an article coming out this week about how to keep your child secure online, because there's so much. I mean, I could just say the dark web or the deep dark web. How many parents out there even heard of that before? When I first heard of it, I was like, what is that? And then when I found out what it was, I was like, oh, now I don't even want to know. But because it's so deep to the point where it's evil, like it's pure evil. Like if you're going to imagine pure evil in its purest form, the deep dark web and the deep web are those things where I just don't understand how the government hasn't shut it down yet, or has not just like locked everybody up that's on it, because is something parents, it's your worst nightmare.
It's your worst nightmare. I just saw it in the New York Times last week. It's your worst, and I couldn't focus for the whole day. It's your worst nightmare. It absolutely is.
Right. And it's a lot. It's not like one thing here or one.
No.
It's like, and I understand they have to have special access to get in there that I don't even know about, and I would never tell anybody about. But it's horrible. So keep an eye out what your children are getting into, because if anybody's going to know about it, these kids will. They'll figure it out.
Right.
So you don't want them going there. And maybe one day we'll do a special on it, but it's going to be a dark. So it's all about dark web and deep web. It's going to be a dark-ish special because, and I can tell you, it probably will bring tears to my eyes because it's so horrible. But it's something that parents need to know about. And like I said, I would never tell people how to get there because it is so horrible. But you need to know about it just to protect your kids and protect their innocence. But anyway, let's go back to a lighter note. What about working millennial moms? Is there a guilt associated with leaving your children to go out into the workplace? Like I mean, I can relate to that even just as a mom.
Yeah, no, you could totally relate to that as a mom. That's that goes across that goes across generations. But there is the mom guilt is real, and I built a whole national event around it called Mompreneur and Me. So the idea, there's a statistic that mothers do feel guilty for leaving their children, even when it is to advance their career and learn professional development skills. So the event that I've created is free for moms. It goes across the country. We go to major cities, and at the event, the moms spend 1 hour with their children doing a mommy and me activity so that they don't feel guilt for the second hour, for what occurs in the second hour. So the first hour is anything from cooking classes to reading at a bookstore together to doing yoga together. We've done a number of different things. The second hour, there's CPR trained childcare on site. The kids break off from the moms and continue the activity. And the moms then work on themselves professionally. That's either a speed networking round with the other moms. It could be hearing from a mompreneur. We had Elizabeth Sherrill from Influencer speak at one event, or it could be something like learning to advocate for yourself in the office, learning how to read a P&L, learning how to write a professional looking resume to advance your career. And it's called Mompreneur Me. The website is mompreneurme.com. We're not going anywhere. We have, we'll be doing national events in 2020 as well. But that was just my way to help moms with that mom guilt, because I completely get it. You don't even want to spend the time to work on yourself professionally when it even is going to benefit the children.
Oh, wow. I mean, that's fantastic. What cities have you been in with Mompreneur?
We've done Atlanta, New York, Philadelphia, DC, Houston, and Nashville for this year. And next year, most likely we'll go back to New York, back to DC, and maybe do a West Coast too.
Okay. Let me make sure we have it up right. Can you spell it and make sure we have the right?
MOMPRENEURANDME.com.
Okay, so that's what I did wrong. I'm gonna make sure I got it right, since we want to make sure people can find it. So it's mompreneureandme.com. So guys, check it out. Maybe they're coming to a city near you, and you can join and learn about what they're doing there. Take your child with you. And let me talk a little bit with you about your children's book. And I'm going to put the cover up here so people can see it, and I can move this over now. So let's see, this is the cover, right? So can mommy go to work? So tell us a little bit about your book.
Yeah, so the book is a very quick bedtime read. That's the whole point of it. It's for a busy mom. So everything about the book was completely thought out, start to finish. The book features the book features elephants, because elephants are the smartest animals we have, and also the most nurturing. They are the most maternal and nurturing animals to their young. So I wanted elephants to be the main characters. I also wanted to feel inclusive for all moms. The main character is the mom. So she's wearing my favorite outfit, which is like a jumpsuit, and she's very modern. My children, Maya and West, are the main characters, and they also picked out what their characters were going to look like. So my daughter has high top sneakers in the story, and my son has on like a bomber jacket. And it's basically about starting your day. And Maya and Wes in the book are doing whatever they can to slow me down. Or slow mommy down. So Maya suggests that she doesn't look nice, the mother, and gives her a necklace. And the son, Wes, pours salt in her coffee instead of sugar. And he's trying to make her laugh. But the mom just blows up and says, I'm trying to leave the house. I'm trying to have a great day. And then the kids explain, we know you are. It's a big day for you. We just want to be a part of it. So in the end of the story, the mom completely acknowledges the kids wanted to help with the day and tells them that they will be a part of the day no matter what. And I'm just overwhelmingly pleased with the feedback from the book. It has 5 stars on Amazon right now. Women love the fact that it's so short because it's a quick bedtime read, and then you can finish working if you want to do that or go to bed. It's not one of those long children's stories. And it has a great message. I love the fact that so many people are coming up to me and saying it's helping them to have the conversation with their kids about why they might have to travel the next night for work or why they have to work late. So I'm really pleased with the feedback.
Wow. So it is available on Amazon right now.
It is. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you guys go there and check it out. Now, you talked about your children being the characters, but what inspired you to write the book? Like, what happened? Was there one thing that was the catalyst to get this book out?
Yes. So I promised my grandmother when I was a teenager that I would write a children's book. And I felt like I wanted to fulfill that promise before I wrote Mom AF, because that's a very deep and personal book. It is a humorous fiction book, but a humorous novel, but I wanted to make sure that I fulfilled the promise to my grandmother of writing a children's book first.
Now, is your grandmother still with us?
No,
or?
She passed away about 7 years ago. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, well, God bless her.
Yes.
And I'm glad that you did that. I know I had an aunt who passed, and she had asked me to write our family history down. And I was so young when she asked me, and I never did. And that is one of my biggest regrets. Like, I want to know. I have so many questions. I'm like, why didn't I do that? So I'm so glad to hear that you did. Right now, I don't regret it. It's just that, well, now we have Ancestry and all of those that help. So then when she asked me, we didn't have all of that, but I know more than I did when she passed. So yeah, so I understand, but I'm so glad that you fulfilled your promise to your grandmother. That's really awesome. But let me ask you this, because we're getting ran out of time actually already. But what is the one thing? That's okay. We're having a good conversation. We always go over it. It's okay. We're not the news. What is the one thing that you want millennial moms to know? What do you want them to know?
That you are not alone. That's what I always say, because so many of us are dealing with mental health issues. World Mental Health Day was just the other day. So many of us get depressed. So many of us get anxious. So many of us feel like we're not doing a good job at being a mother. And I just would like everyone to know, every woman, if I could, who's a mother, that you are not alone.
That's fantastic. I want to thank you, Christine, for coming on our show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Now, I'm excited that you were here. And this is a topic that I definitely could not even talk about by myself, being Generation X. So I really appreciate it. And I appreciate all the millennials out there, especially the moms and dads that are doing their best to take care of their children. And I want to thank everyone for participating and listening to BACKTALK by Successful Black Parenting Magazine, the podcast talk show for parents. If you happen to miss part of the show, no worries. You can just wait a few minutes and click the video replay of this podcast. The audio will be available shortly as well and syndicated across everything from iTunes to Spotify to Android on all the different platforms. Share it with anyone who needs to hear it, and let's get the word out. Our next live episode is Friday, October 18th at 6 p.m. on a specific time and 9 p.m. Eastern time with Dr. Donald Easton Brooks. He is the Dean of the College of Education at the University of Nevada, and he's going to be talking about ways for parents to coach Black children specifically on how to interact with white teachers, ways for parents to coach Black children on how to interact with white teachers, which I think is interesting because we've been teaching them how to interact with police officers. But now, because of all the things that's been in the news, we need to really teach them how to interact with white teachers. We have teachers making assignments about slavery, saying put a funny caption underneath. That's not cool. Yeah, that happened like last week. We have them, they always fail when it comes to teaching slavery for some reason.
Yeah,
We
I
had one
hate
teacher.
Black History Month at school. Yes.
Yeah.
I
And
could have stories too.
this happened last week. So that they're
Right.
teaching it all year round the wrong way. And, during Black History Month, we had the one teacher who separated the Black kids from the white kids, had them lay on the floor while she walked on their back.
Right.
It was crazy things that happened. So now we have to teach our children how to interact with the white world and know that it's not always going to be positive. And I can't say everyone is like that, but there are too many that are popping up. So, but if you want to know more, go to our Facebook page at Black Parenting One. You can put Black Parenting One in the search bar or Successful Black Parenting, and it'll come up. And sign up for the notifications. That's important so you don't miss our live broadcast. And be sure to tag any friends in the post and hit Get Reminder. Is a button there. And so when you see that, it will pop up right before the show to remind you to tune in. And you can always ask questions live in the chat on Facebook like we had today. And I will put the best questions up live on air and read them for our audience who are just listening to the audio. And one more thing, don't forget to follow us too on Twitter. That's where our biggest following is right now. We're working on Instagram. So if you want to follow us there too, we're at Black Parenting Magazine on Instagram, on Twitter and Facebook. We're at Black Parenting One. Our website, though, is successfulblackparenting.com. And that's full of good content to help you to thrive, because that's our goal. We want you to thrive and not just survive as a parent. And be sure to rate our podcast. That's also important. It helps us with advertising. So until next time, take care of yourself, because you never know when the world will need you. All right, guys. Bye-bye.